Hey guys, this is Shelby with the Rogers Public Library, and this week for Full Steam Ahead, I want to talk to you guys about jaguars. So jaguars, like last week's topic, lions are big cats, right? They're also part of the Panthera genus, so the scientific name is Panthera onca. Jaguars are the largest cat in the Americas. They can weigh up to 200 pounds, typically speaking, although the largest jaguar that's ever been documented weighed up to 380 pounds. So Jaguars used to cover basically all of South America and most of southern North America, up through Texas, as well as parts of California. But now their range has been greatly reduced. So there haven't been any female jaguars seen in the United States since the 1960s. And there's only a handful of male jaguars that have since then. And they're kind of really sparsely distributed throughout South America and Central America, right? But they are really, really cool cats. This is a fun picture I found in them, right? So the thing that makes jaguars really unique is that they don't attack their prey the same way that other big cats do, right? So you'll notice they have these really big teeth, right? And what they'll do is they sneak up on their prey and they bite them in their head, and their tooth goes into their brain, and the prey dies, and then they eat them, right? Which it kind of sounds gross, but it's also really cool. So I mean, I don't think I would want to watch a jaguar eat something, but it's cool to think about, right? You can tell the difference between jaguars and leopards. Jaguars and leopards and cheetahs all have really similar patterns. The thing, right, right. So for one thing, you're not going to find any leopards in the Americas, and you're not going to find any jaguars in Africa or Asia where you would find a leopard. Let's see if we can get a good picture. All right, this is a cool book that we have about rainforest ecosystems. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so you can kind of see the rosette pattern that is on jaguars a little bit better, right? So they kind of have these little blots, and then they also have these things called rosettes, right? Which are kind of lines with a little dot in the middle of them, almost like a rose, right? And that's actually important because it's going to tie into the craft we're about to do in a little bit. This is a picture of one of the jaguars that's been seen in the United States recently. So his name is El Jefe. He hasn't been seen in the United States since 2015. But he's probably doing okay. He probably just went back to Mexico, where he's from, and where he was born, to look for a girl jaguar to hang out with, right? And then here's another cool picture. It is this is what's called a Black Panther. You guys might have heard this from the Marvel superhero, right? So there's Black Panthers that are jaguars, and there's Black Panthers that are leopards, and they're both caused by a mutation called melanism, which happens when their bodies, the gene that controls the amount of pigment called melanin that's produced, produces too much, right? There's another similar mutation in a lot of different animals, including humans, called albinism, right? When your body doesn't make any pigment at all and you have white skin and white hair. Yeah. So our craft for this week is we're just going to be making a little jaguar like this guy, right? So my original inspiration for this was Olmec statues, right? So the Olmecs were people who lived in southern Mexico about 3,000 years ago, 2 to 3,000 years ago, right? And they were one of the early civilizations, around at the same time as like the Babylonians and the Egyptians, basically, but in the Americas. And they really liked jaguars. They thought they were super cool. And they actually made a bunch of statues of their rulers with jaguar features, and statues of not just people, not just these people jaguars, but also actual jaguars too. Right, and so there's a lot of these statues that still exist, probably because they're made out of things like rock that last a really long time. This is made out of model magic, so it's a little bit easier to shape, which is pretty good for us, but it might not last as long. I think that's okay, right? So I just have my model magic here, and I'm kneading it right now, right? And the reason we're doing this is just so it's soft and it's a little bit easier to handle, we're actually going to want to pinch off a little bit and just save it, because we're going to need that to make the ears. So now we're going to roll it into a ball again, and we're going to take it and we're going to stretch it out a little bit, right? So it's still basically a ball shape, right? It's a weird ball, or more like a pear, actually, right? So the fat end is the actual head, per se, and then the narrow end is its snout. Now we're going to make 2 little depressions, right? And these are going to be the eye sockets, right? I haven't found a good way to actually like give it eyes. You guys might be a little bit more inventive than me and come up with a good idea, right? But so same basic shape, right? And it's also the same basic shape that we see in the actual Jaguar, right? Right, kind of a wide head that kind of tapers off to the point. And then we have the 2 ears. I guess it doesn't really matter how big they are as long as they're the same size, right? We're also going to roll these into balls. It's a little ball, flatten it, right? And we're going to stick this one here, right? And then we're going to get this one, same deal, rolled it into a ball, flatten it, and we're going to stick this one here, right? So that's it. That's our Jaguar, right? As for the pattern, I kind of went a little bit crazy on this one, right? So there's a lot of different rosettes and a lot of different lines, and it blends together and it has a nice effect. I also had a bigger dot on the end as its nose, right? So you can kind of just make shapes like this, right? So things that look more or less like circles or individual lines. I also think this is something where you might have a little bit of an easier time with paint than with, say, a Sharpie, just because it's a little bit thicker and you'll have an easier time making nice shapes, right? So these are kind of shapes that you might use like that. It doesn't have to be anything specific, right? And Jaguars, they all look really similar, but they also have unique patternings, right? Not every Jaguar is going to have the exact same spots. So your Jaguar can be unique. And if you have noticed, they're actually kind of different colors. This one was made with white Mono Magic that I painted onto when it was done. And when the paint dried, I painted these on, right? This one is yellow Mono Magic, right? So we're taking out a step. Yeah, so it's a little bit easier to do. And once it is dry, I'm going to paint on it with Sharpie instead of with the paintbrush, right? But that's what I had for you guys this week. I hope you had fun, and I'll see you next Monday.